Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astrogat Mysore. After a long gap, I am back with the series of Ketu in the seventh house. The seventh has the most important Karakatva signification, that is of relationship. So, most of us, when we see the seventh house, we usually tend to forget the other significations or Karakatvas. There are many Karakatvas of seventh house, like minor Karakatvas I am telling, and there are some major Karakatvas, that is significations. The minor ones are seventh represents the back of the person, like the Lagna represents the front of the person. So these are minor Karakatvas, and why is it so important? The back has one of the most important organ, the spine, and the problems pertaining to the low back, that is the we call this L1, L2, L3, L4, these are the lumbar. So then the tailbone. You know how many people are there in that particular sector who have back pain and who have sciatica. The sciatica problem comes because of the pressure, which is undue pressure from one of the prolapses of the bone over the uh, nervous system, which actually the motor nerves for the legs. So this is a very complicated subject and it's a neurological subject. I'm not a master in that anyway. But astrologically, this is a problem which has to be seen from Ketu in the seventh. So if it is malefically disposed along with Sun or along with Saturn in the seventh, there is a tendency that the person can get into problems of sciatica. Why Sun? Because Sun represents bone, and why Saturn? Because Saturn represents legs. Very simple. So this can also happen when Ketu is along with Mercury in the seventh house. So there are many combinations. I am not going to combinations as I have started the combination of planets, and in detail I will be doing them in the later days. The other minor Karakatvas of the seventh house is travel due to occupation. So the third house means short travels, trips, journeys. The ninth house means voyages, long journeys, spiritualistic voyages like pilgrimage and all those things. Third house means everyday travel, day to day travel, everyday traveling to the office and coming back. The 12th house means traveling far abroad for long journeys, for longer stays. The 7th house means journey to countries for investments, for business, all business related, marketing. So this is a Karakatva which actually we, tend to miss when we are doing our analysis. And Ketu shows lot of abrupt and wasteful journeys which might go waste if Ketu is badly posited, and lot of journeys which might tend you to meet a lot of strangers, successful meetings if Ketu is well posited. So first thing you have to do is see whether Ketu is alone, Ketu is along with the planet or not. So if Ketu is alone, we consider it normal, and if it's alone, exalted, and if it is in Scorpio, which is to be said as its own house, then we will call that Ketu as a good Ketu. So, the seventh house also is the third from the fifth house. The third house is activity, and fifth house means fertility, fifth house means imagination, fifth house means learning skills, and fifth house also means digestion, because it represents the first part of your stomach, because stomach and heart both are very close to each other, so it's also stomach. So the activity of the fifth house falls in the seventh, and if you have a bad Ketu there, all these things, learning capability, grasping power, memory, the imagination skills, the progeny, that is fertility, all these get hit. Particularly the digestion and the intestine. This gets hit. Why the intestine or the kidney, which might get hit when Ketu is in the seventh house, is because it is in that particular region of the abdomen associated with that L1, L2, L3, L4, which is the spinal cord. So, spinal cord doesn't mean that only spinal cord in that region will actually get affected. The associated parts of that particular region, the kidneys, they are very next to it, near the pelvis. So, that gets affected. So, digestion disorders, gastritis, intestinal, I don't want to repeat that word cancer, but still carcinoma can be seen from this particular placement if it is badly posited. So, dysfunctions, sexual dysfunction and functioning of the organs also get affected when Ketu is in the seventh house. So, earlier when I had spoken about marriage and relationship, there's a detailed discussion on Rahu and Ketu in 1 and 7 axis. But still, I will go into that particular topic because I am individually tackling with Ketu today. Because Rahu might be there in the ascendant, it will be there in the ascendant if Ketu is in the 7th, obviously. But when Ketu is in the 7th associated with some other planet, Rahu might be alone in the ascendant, which might not be malefic at all. So Ketu in the 7th with another planet, malefically disposed, might cause difficulties to the marriage. In many ways, one thing, there might be extramarital affair for the native, which might actually cause difficulty. There might be sexual dysfunction, as I have told you earlier. He or she might be going through problems of STD, transmitted diseases. Yes, there is a very rare thing which can happen when Ketu is in the 7th house. Suddenly the person can become very spiritualistic. If a person becomes spiritualistic, where is the sexual activity? It's gone. So, the interaction with the physical self and the intimacy will suddenly get subdued because of the Ketu in the 7th house. So, if badly posited, then problems with multiple relationships will be there. People will not be able to stick on to one relationship. They'll always have doubts, suspicion. So, they will be like on and off in relationships, which might lead to divorce. So, the other problems are like documentation problems, taxation problems with authorities, the government. So, there might be a lot of litigations which might happen with regard to the property disputes. All these things can be seen in the 7th house when Ketu is positive. So, the advice would be simple. Do not invest into business, do not invest into share market and speculation market when there is a malefic conjunction with Ketu. So, what is a malefic conjunction with Ketu? As per me, every conjunction with Ketu is malefic. It kills the real quality of Ketu, which is sharp-mindedness, acuteness. They have calculative skills, they acumen, very highly skilled, perfect people. All that gets destroyed when another planet is sitting next to Ketu, very close to Ketu. So close to Ketu, people will again ask me this question. How close? So 3 to 5 degrees, let us take that. Even 7 degrees from Ketu, yes, I take that it is as a conjunction with Ketu, but still it will only have little influence. But 3 to 5 degrees, within that, Ketu loses its strength and starts acting very differently. They become rough in attitude, they are too perfect to be in business, they are having too much of expectations, which it's like you're tying bullock carts to your car and asking them to run like horses. They don't do that. So it's like employing only 2 people and asking them to work or give you 10 people's output. They can't give you. So you might be able to do that. You might be able to do 4 times or 5 times a normal person's job. That doesn't mean that your subordinates can do it. So this expectation can happen if Ketu is strongly posited in the 7th house or having a malefic influence also. If the malefic influence is too much, then sudden losses can be seen in business. So that is why when malefic influence is there on Ketu, we simply advise the person to go for a job. At least he will be getting a salary after the end of the month. So defamation, humiliation, litigation, Who wants all this? Suspension, inquiries. So these things can happen when Ketu is malefically disposed in the seventh. So these strong Ketu, shrewd in business, highly manipulative but ethical. Think about this. They know how to manipulate, but that doesn't mean every person who is able to manipulate will always, be conning or be cunning. So they may not be. Manipulation, yes, they know how to do calculations faster than you, but that doesn't mean that they are non-ethical. But if you have a strong Mercury associated with Ketu in the seventh, manipulation and also shrewd business attitude, also a little bit of cunningness will come into the native's character. So, what all sorts of problems might come, I have told you. So, they have to be careful eating outside, because the last but unforgettable thing of Ketu is that a person might go through food poisoning, so which might result in difficulties in the intestine. So stomach and intestinal disorders because of digestion problems, and also because of ingesting that poisonous food. Let's say bad food. Okay, so microbial infections can happen when Ketu is in the seventh house. So what sort of microbial infections? Microbial infections which amoebiosis, diarrhea, loose motions. These can happen when Ketu is in the seventh house, or they have a tendency. Please don't think that if Ketu is permanently in the seventh house, this person will have continuously all over his life he will be going through problems of diarrhea. No. So the point is that if Ketu is afflicted, or the transiting planet comes over Ketu and starts a problem, temporary disorders of health can happen. So this is how what Ketu does when it is in the seventh house. And thank you very much for today's class.